It forces creativity. It forces the imagination. So, there's nothing worse than a blank sheet where you can do anything you want. So to create rules, to create kind of parameters with which you need to work, I think then you get into a kind of problem solving. And in problem solving, you suddenly have to connect with a sort of imagination that will get you to where you want to go. And I think that only comes from those restrictions. When I write, I'm also very, very rigorous. I mean, I'm almost superstitious. I eat breakfast in the same chair, at the same restaurant. I eat the same food for the same amount of time, and then I write from exactly 10 to 3, no breaks ever. And like the whole thing, I believe in all of that structure allowing me to set my mind free, because it just puts a kind of, I'm like a child. So a blank page and no page numbers, so that it all feels like that rhythm that you're used to in museums. You're used to that placement of that label right there. And because I think a lot of people, when they start the book, don't realize, like, it's not going to stop. There's not like a real book hidden inside. This is all you're getting. And so you have to understand, you've got to get into that rhythm. And so that's one way to kind of guide you to that place. I didn't set out to write a book about this woman at all. I liked the idea of writing labels about people, and my first experiment with trying to do that, I wrote a label about a kind of patrician woman standing in the Met's galleries, a very common type, and I wrote a label about her. I wrote that, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and write 20 labels about that woman and see how far I can get. And eventually she just kind of took over the book. And so one of the reasons I was writing on the wall is because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And so I was watching it kind of populate as I thought of things that would happen to her, or how this story, it sort of spread like an ink blot. I think the challenge was, it was one thing to write labels about people, that's fine, but to push it beyond being just like a party trick and write labels that really push the form to its greatest capacity. Could I write an emotional label? Could I write a sexy label? Could I write a funny label? With stopwatch precision, a Baroque swell of fertility secures Kitty's place as a traditional vessel. But studio malfunctions propel the glossy pink snuff box through Kitty as if she were constructed of lace. I use the language of porcelain a lot to describe Kitty, and very intentionally. I think porcelain is a very human material in some ways. It's strong but fragile. It's easily grouped with other things. It has very limited utility, not unlike Kitty. And it's very hard to hide its damage.